This is Ms. Davis, and we're going to talk about writing an extended constructive response. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to find out what the prompt is. So if you go over here to this page here, it says, read the argumentative essay, volunteer to clean up beaches and rivers. Based on the information in this selection, write a response to the following. Explain how the writer supports the argument that readers should volunteer to clean up beaches and rivers. That is the prompt. That is what they are wanting you to do. They want you to explain how the writer supports the argument that readers should volunteer to clean up beaches and rivers. And for the assignment today, basically all they wanted you to do was draft the controlling idea of the essay, which is that sentence that basically tells the reader what your essay is going to be about. It's the one sentence that explains what your essay is going to be about. Readers should volunteer to clean up beaches and rivers. That is what we're looking for. How does the writer support that argument? What evidence, what details, what examples does the writer say that supports volunteers to clean up beaches and rivers? Volunteer to clean up beaches and rivers. Early every morning during the season, Chris Young puts on a wetsuit, a pair of goggles, and flippers. Then he dives into the San Marcos Como, or Guadalupe River, in central Texas. He finds treasures that belong to 50 or more people. They lost their things in their float down the river's swift current that day. Chris Young can find anything. If people contact him, he returns wedding rings, expensive phones, or billfolds. He charges only a small fee. If no one claims the property that he advertises on social media, he gives it away to charity or recycles it. In his one-man operation, Chris Young keeps these Texas rivers running free and clear. The plants and snapping turtles at the bottom of the river are grateful. The people who have lost things in the rivers are grateful. However, no one pays him a salary to perform his task. Chris Young is a volunteer, and he could be a volunteer, and you could be a volunteer too. Cleaning up Texas waterways helps marine life and swimmers while connecting volunteers to the natural world. Now that's a fine way to spend a day. To help clean the rivers or beaches of your area, you don't need to work alone like Chris Young. You just need to be willing to donate time to help. For example, in the winter in 2022, over 300 young people gathered on a cold beach in the Coastal Bend area of Texas. Working together over a weekend, they cleaned 14 miles of coastline. The trash weighed 6,334 pounds. For their efforts, the young people received several rewards. A public official thanked them personally on behalf of the state of Texas. The beaches were safer and cleaner for the flood of tourists expected in the spring. And the volunteers got free breakfast, tacos, and pizza. By participating in another Chili Beach cleanup in February 2020, volunteers also helped the wildlife. Volunteers at the Anahuac National Wildlife Refuge cleaned the beach for the hundreds of shorebirds. These birds arrive in early spring to court and nest along the beaches. If the beach is not cleared of small plastics and other trash, the adults and chicks will eat the trash. Then the beach will have something worse, suffering or dead birds. Volunteers are vital to clearing beaches of plastic. Their efforts help maintain the health of the ecosystem worldwide. In 2018, A sperm whale washed ashore in Indonesia. Thinking it was eating food, it had eaten 13 pounds of plastic instead. It had consumed plastic cups, bottles, bags, and a pair of flip flops. Seeing a beached whale is a sad experience. However, the lesson it teaches us is a good one. Picking up plastic litter is worth the effort. Volunteers are important for cleaning up after disasters as well. After Hurricane Nicholas swept across South Texas in 2021, over 3,500 volunteers rushed to help clean and remove 58,571 pounds of trash. These volunteers understood the importance of quick action. They cleaned the beaches. In addition, they also encouraged the people who had lost possessions and property. Some cleanup volunteers find more than small plastic items in takeout cartons. Odd things sometimes appear. In a cleanup on the coast of Oregon, the volunteers found an actual kitchen sink. They also found a car frame, half a toilet seat, and half a toilet seat, and a mysterious bamboo raft. In another cleanup in California, a group of sixth grade volunteers pulled a sunken treasure out of the lake. Instead of collecting trash, they found a collection of jewelry. They gave the treasure to the authorities. Finally, an indirect benefit of becoming a volunteer is that helping others changes you. You learn how big some problems are and what it feels like to be a part of a solution. You see the 5 sacks of garbage you picked up multiplied by hundreds of others. This might lead you to start a cleanup on your own school grounds. Then, as an experienced volunteer, you could train others. Becoming a volunteer has many benefits for beaches, for you, and for the future. We've already read the passage. Now we have to come back to the prompt and find out, what do I do now? How do I start my paper? All right, so we've already read the passage. Now we need to figure out, how do I start this essay? What is the prompt asking me? And remember, the prompt is, explain how the writer supports the argument that readers should volunteer to clean up beaches and rivers. First of all, ask yourself, will I need text evidence? Yes, absolutely, because right after the prompt, there's another part that says, write a well-organized informational essay that uses specific evidence. Evidence is it right here, evidence from the argumentative selection to support your answer. So yes, we need evidence. So I'm going to answer the prompt. In order to answer the prompt, you may use part of the prompt in your controlling idea. And remember that controlling idea is that one sentence that's in your paragraph that's basically going to tell the reader what your essay is going to be about. So the first thing I'm going to do is flip the prompt. Basically, I'm going to take that prompt and I'm going to put it in a way that I can answer it. So let's look at the prompt. The prompt is written in blue. Explain how the writer supports the argument that readers should volunteer to clean up beaches and river. Okay, so now let's flip this prompt so that we can write it in a way that we can answer it. So we're going to still use the same language that's in the prompt, but we're going to put it in a different way. For instance, this is me flipping the prompt. The writer supports the argument that readers should volunteer to clean up beaches and rivers by ... So I'm kind of saying the same thing that the prompt is saying, but I'm saying it in a way that I can answer it, because I need to go back to the passage and say, hey, this is how the writer supports volunteers cleaning up beaches. This reason and this reason. So we're still asking ourselves questions at this point. How did the author support the argument? What's the argument? The argument is volunteers. Volunteers should clean up beaches and rivers. That's the argument. How does the writer support this? These are questions we can ask. How do we know that the writer thinks readers should volunteer? What did the writer say in the passage to make us think that that's the way he or she feels? Another one is, what all did the writer say in this passage to make us think this? So these are questions that we have to ask. How did the author support the argument? Okay, so here are the questions. How do we know that the writer thinks readers should volunteer? What all did the writer say in the passage to make us think that the reader thinks that people should volunteer? Why should people volunteer? What are the reasons that the writer mentioned in the passage why people should volunteer? So here is my details and evidence screen, and it's basically exactly what I just read you. I went to paragraph 2 and I pulled out the evidence or the details to why people should volunteer, and I did this for all the paragraphs I just talked about. So from that information, we have to create our controlling idea. The controlling idea is what you put in the introduction. Controlling idea is the sentence that's in your introduction paragraph that tells the reader what your essay is going to be about. So I need one sentence that's going to explain to my reader what my whole essay is going to be about. So remember, we flip the prompt. The prompt is written in green. And here's the prompt. The writer supports the argument that readers should volunteer to clean up beaches and rivers because. Okay. The writer supports the argument that readers should volunteer to clean up beaches and rivers because. Now remember, I got to pick some reasons. So here are all my reasons. I literally went through every paragraph, well, not every paragraph, but I went through the paragraphs in this passage and I picked reasons. My sentence. So I need to say something like the the writer supports the argument that readers should volunteer to clean up beaches and rivers because. I can pick any one of these. I can say because they say plants and snapping turtles are grateful and people are grateful for doing it. Or I can say the writer supports the argument that readers should volunteer to clean up beaches and rivers because it helps marine life and swimmers, or it can help connect volunteers to natural world. Or I could say the writer supports the argument that readers should volunteer to clean up beaches and rivers because we can have clean coastlines, or because you can receive a reward, or it can save birds, or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to, this is part of my controlling idea. So the writer supports the argument that readers should volunteer to clean up beaches and rivers because. I'm going to pick two reasons. I'm going to pick from paragraph, I'm going to say because you can save birds and you can receive a reward. Those are going to be my two reasons, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, so because you can save birds and you can receive a reward. And that's it. Now I have my controlling idea. That's it.